It's happening right now in Mesa, just outside Red Mountain High School. You can see well over 100 members of the student body here from Unity Rising, partly the club that actually organized the event, and other members of the student body here who wanted to come out and protest against the ongoing ICE process across our entire country. Many of the members saying they don't want ICE in this community. They don't want ICE doing what they're doing across the country. And they are out here standing during their lunch break to send a message to the community.
I can semi support this because they're on their lunch break. However, do I support these kids ditching school? I don't. If that's what they're doing to do a pointless protest like this, I get it. But I mean, it's not worth the effort. For one thing, there's no such thing as abolishing the laws in this country. So these kids protesting against ICE, they're just protesting against the laws. The laws are the way they are because we have borders. We're not a nation that there is no such thing. Every country has borders. If you don't have borders, you don't have a country. And as long as you have borders, you must have immigration enforcement. Every country does. These kids have never left the U.S. or they're the kids of illegals. They have a skewed view, but it's like they won't go back to their home country and advocate for the dissolve the borders of their home country. So why are you asking to do it here? You know, it's a shame that somebody put these kids up to this. These kids literally have no idea what's happening. Saying you don't want ICE in your city is like saying I don't want police in my city. There's no way you can say I love the police and I hate ICE. These same people hate laws and hate police in general. ICE is not special. So when I see a protest like this, it just doesn't make any sense. And I'm wondering, well, you know, what kind of woke teachers are in these schools filling their heads up with this nonsense where they're now against their country and they're against the laws of their country. All these kids are going to vote liberal. They're all Democrats. This is not healthy, in my opinion.
It's happening right now in Mesa, just outside Red Mountain High School. You can see well over 100 members of the student body here from Unity Rising, partly the club that actually organized the event, and other members of the student body here who wanted to come out and protest against the ongoing ICE process across our entire country. Many of the members saying they don't want.
Yeah, somebody taught these kids these chants. These kids were not just sitting in class like, have you been watching the news? I don't like the fact that ICE is enforcing immigration laws. All you have to do is just not violate our laws. But what does that require? A certain level of respect for our country, respect for our citizenship, and respect for the will of the people. If you don't have any of that and you've been radicalized and turned against your own best interests, then yeah, you're going to get out here and you're going to protest against things that are in your favor. See, what these kids don't know is that in a couple of years, they are going to be in the workforce if they already aren't. The reason these kids aren't being hired, the reason these kids are all broke like they all claim to be, is because illegals are already occupying those positions. Those illegals that are older than them are working for half the price and with no benefits. You as an American cannot compete, but then you're crying about, oh, I can't afford a home. Oh, I can't get a livable wage. Oh, I can't afford groceries. This country and capitalism. It's not that. You just gave everything away to illegal aliens. You gave your birthright away. See, the way it works is our parents and our grandparents, they built something unique and special here in the United States. Something that was supposed to be passed down to us, and we're supposed to take care of it and keep the system going so we could pass it down to our own children. That's what came along with being a citizen of this country, a sense of elitism, because your passport, your citizenship means something. It's special. It's unique. It's a privilege to be here. The opportunities are endless compared to when you go to other places. But if you're going to let people sneak across this border and shame you into giving your own birthright to them, well, then you can't come and cry about it later to the rest of us. You don't want to work because you're not used to working, and you're used to disappointment because no one's responding to your monster.com applications. Why should they? When there are still illegals here willing to do the work for half the price. Now, Trump removing the illegals, now all these businesses are hiring again. I remember growing up in Los Angeles, I remember I never seen a black or a white person working in my life. I never seen a black person working at a store. I remember we're going into grocery stores as a kid. I've never seen a white or black person as a teller in a grocery store. Not somebody that working in a meat department, stocking shelves. I've never seen it. So you would just assume that maybe everybody who's white and black is just rich as fuck. They're not. When I first left the state, I went to go play sports in Arizona in high school. And I remember walking into a Fry's grocery store, and that was the first time in my life. It was a black woman at one register, and it was a white woman at another register. I had never seen it before. And I look back and I start to think, like, is that why my city is just so destroyed? Is that why the rents are so high? Is that why everybody's in a gang and doing crime? Because no one's ever been hiring. We've never, our parents never had a chance in the job industry. Illegal immigration has been a big problem where I'm from since the 70s. So even when my parents were coming out of high school, because they spoke Spanish, they could communicate with people. It made it a little bit easier. But if you were just a regular white or black American, you lost your job to illegals depending on which big city you were from and where you lived. So it's crazy when I see these kids 2-3 generations later, and they're literally begging to give away their privilege and their birthright to other people. These are the jobs you're going to need. And little do you know it, you're advocating for not having any opportunities once you leave school. These people leave school to get all these student loans and they can't find a job. I wonder why. Because there's somebody who's not supposed to be here willing to do the work for half the price. Half the price. And they have a different family structure than us Americans. It'll be 10 people in one apartment and they'll be happy with it and they'll all split the bills. So they're more comfortable than you and they're living a different lifestyle than you. And you're wondering why you don't have anything. Look around. Nobody sold you out. You sold yourself out. But see, when I see kids indoctrinated like this reminds me of kids that are convinced at a young age that they're gay or convinced that they're trans. These kids, their minds are malleable. They're like sponges. You walk into the classroom, you see a purple-haired teacher with a nose septum or whatever the hell, and you're wondering why your kids hate you, hate their country, hate the government, and blaming everybody for their problems but themselves. You know, that's not a natural thing. You have to be trained that way. And if you don't have a strong family presence, if you don't have two parents, you're likely to become a victim. That's why I notice a lot of these teachers, they target white kids because typically they know that a white kid is going to come from a stronger family structure. They're going to have a father in the home. So I notice a lot of the indoctrination, a lot of the insults, a lot of the rhetoric is always targeted at white kids. They're always targeted at white Christian kids. They don't talk about the kids in the mosque or the synagogues or the Catholic. No, they only want to go after white Christian kids. They debilitate them. They like break them down mentally early because later they don't want them to be strong. Because, you know, those are the worst kids to try to, you know, indoctrinate because they have a strong moral foundation from their parents at home. A lot of kids don't have that, especially nowadays. And now I'm watching these kids. They're not even thinking about tomorrow. It's like none of you kids have foresight. None of you guys understand. So you guys understand you hate ICE, but you don't understand what the good things about ICE. You don't understand that part. Do you know what rent is? Have you ever had to pay bills? You ever seen your bills go down? I have. I'm watching the rent rate. I'm watching the rent rates in California, where I live in LA, where I'm from. I'm watching all the rents go down. I have friends that are fucking bums, but maybe they weren't bums. They just been out of work for years. And you kind of get used to just living on the state. You get used to that welfare communist lifestyle. It's addictive to a person that grew up under capitalism that's been working their whole life. Once somebody tells you they'll give you money, you get to just stay home and shelter in place. You start really hoping that half of the world's population dies from a virus because you're like, shit, I get to just hang out at home. It's addictive. That's why you never want to get used to being lazy because it's hard to break out of that and want to start working again. My friends in LA, they all of a sudden have jobs, construction jobs, post office jobs, local government jobs, landscaping jobs, warehouse jobs, truck drivers. None of my black friends had these jobs. Now they're all being hired and they're being offered triple the money. They're offering to pay for your schooling now to learn how to do plumbing and electricity and to lay asphalt and concrete. We never knew that there was even schools that that was never on the table for us. Now people are telling you they'll pay for all your schooling to go learn these trades. Why? All of a sudden, in the past 6 months, out of the blue, 30-something years on earth, no one's ever offered me free education. You might have got offered a Pell Grant. You had to pay that. Even that was a scam, to get you into one of these schools where you're not learning anything tangible. But here you are. Now you're offering me free trade school to learn, to do electricals and do air ducts. What is that called when you do air and air heating and electric? They're literally offering you courses on those for free. And they have jobs for you. You know why? Because magically all of their slave labor is gone now. And here you go, these kids right here, literally crying because they're defending slavery. It's fucking disgusting. It's pathetic. And these kids have no idea that they are defending slavery. They're just doing what they're told. They're probably getting extra credit for just being out there so they can become a spectacle and people can look at them and point. They think they're doing something, but they're literally just advocating for exploiting and enslaving other people. Because that's all it is. If you're working for half the price, you're being exploited. And if you can't complain about this company because, you're an illegal, then I'm taking advantage of you and you're essentially a slave. That's just what it is. So hopefully these kids will snap out of it and understand that the removal of the illegals are in it for their best interests. Teachers don't indoctrinate kids. Have you ever been? Yeah, when I was in school, there were no gay kids. There were no gay teachers. There were no teachers talking to us about their sex lives or their personal lives. As far as I knew, at night, the teachers slept in closets and we were robots. They were all 80-year-old robots. I never had a hot young teacher in my life. Now these teachers are indoctrinating kids and telling them what to think and to believe and making them out into little political drones. These kids are being brainwashed. Where do they get this information that they don't like ICE when literally ICE is in their best interest? Deportation is in their best interest. That's the only way they're going to stand a chance in the workforce in a couple of years when they graduate. If they don't go to college and rack up all that extra debt, how are you going to pay that debt if you can't get hired for a job? Because the illegals have taken all of those positions. So yeah, it's absolutely indoctrination. I didn't go through this when I was a kid, but this all started, in the past, 10 years or so after I've already graduated. So I've seen it, I've compared it, and now they've had to remove this out of school. These DEI teachers that are in here teaching Marxism and communism and socialism to these kids, that's indoctrination as well. So it's being reversed, being done away with. Hopefully these kids snap out of it and realize that what ICE is doing is in their best interest and for the greater good of the country as a whole. Every day there are more, depending on where you live, if you're going into the workforce, because of the illegals, there was no workforce that was open to you. Now it is. You got to be thankful to Trump and to the administration for these new opportunities. Like and subscribe, share the video. Let me know what you think. I appreciate all the comments. I'm going to read them and I'm going to post this video tomorrow. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is at Red Mountain High School in Mesa. So you'll see those reports if you watch, but this is crazy.
On ICE's community, they don't want ICE doing what they're doing across the country, and they're out here standing during their lunch break to send a message to the community.
I'll be honest. We want to see kids do good in life, but I'll tell you this: we'll get rid of all those kids at the protest. We'll send them. We would literally, We'll literally repatriate them all to another nation before we get rid of our laws. If it comes down to it, we will get rid of the people who don't like our laws before we get rid of the laws. Without laws, you have chaos. And you can't raise children under chaos. You can't build a society in chaos. We need stability. And if it comes down to these people or the rule of law for the rest of us, then we'll get rid of these people. We'll repatriate them to another nation, and then they can complain about those nations' laws since they took this nation for granted. That's why it is so important that birthright citizenship is revoked. Let me know your thoughts. I'll be back on live with another topic in a
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.